Sorry?
Never mind. Go for it.
Okay. All good. Welcome to yet another Icebreakers episode. All my darlings, really cool to be here once again with lovely, lovely people on this cold fall evening. My name is Hedley. I'm from Finland, IGDA Finland, do some teaching and some other stuff, but we're not here to really talk about me as much. I'm here with my lovely co-hosts. One of them, unfortunately, came from Sweden, is a little bit ill. Like I said, it is the cold fall, and sometimes it does claim its victims. But best wishes to Kim. Hopefully, you get better soon. But worry not. Sylvia from Norway
Hi.
is here.
Hi, I'm Sylvia from Nonita, the Norwegian network for video game companies. Looking forward to tonight.
Definitely. But with us, we have two lovely guests. If you would like to introduce yourself, say where you work and what kind of game you work on. And Matilda, would you like to take the stage, please?
Thank you. I'm Matilda. I'm 26-year-old from Norway. I work at Rido Games, where we are creating a horse game called Stride. So it's a horse game set in Scandinavian and Nordic environments.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And our second guest is Patricia. Would you like to introduce yourself, where you work, and what you work on, please?
Of course. So actually it's Patricia, but as I said, everyone has been calling me Patricia since I moved out of Poland, so that's perfectly fine. But yes, I currently work at Star Stable Entertainment on two mobile games, which is Wild Song and Star Stable Horses. And also I help out a little bit on the biggest game that we have, Star Stable Online. I have over, well, it would be time flies, so almost 6 years in the industry, at least 5 years doing mostly community management. So yeah, also I've been in Sweden, so I'm actually located in Stockholm. I've been in Sweden since 2019, end of 2019. So very happy to be here with you.
Thank you. And of course, as always, our wonderful producer, Vivian, who is behind the stage making the magic happen. Thank you. Happy to have you here as well. And Patricia, can you say your name once again? Like, how do you pronounce it?
Patricia.
Patricia?
Patricia. Yeah.
Patricia? Okay.
Yeah, again,
I'll try.
You're welcome to try. That's fine.
We'll do. Also, you and Viv are holding the Swedish flags as Kim isn't here, so let's make him.
Yeah, although I'm not Swedish, my partner is Swedish, but yeah.
You live in Stockholm, that's close enough. But yeah, enough horsing around.
Oh boy! Did you really?
I had to.
Two community managers with horse games, and now you're
It can't be helped. There will be that puns all through this episode. But yeah.
So I think the next question we're going to have is a little bit based on community management work. Like, as somebody that doesn't often work with it myself, I'm very curious as to what the day-to-day life or the day-to-day work of a community manager consists of. I was wondering if you might have a few words on that.
Who's first?
Patricia, please.
Okay. Okay, so I think like the baseline, basically what you would expect community manager to do, and what I'm doing every day, is the interactions with our players through social media. So I'm talking Facebook, Twitter, Discord, recently also TikTok. You need to jump on the trends, right? So it's all about those interactions, but also just creating the content. It also depends if you have like creative studio to support you, but sometimes you need to also create the content and check how it's doing. So it's also sometimes quite analytical. You're checking the impressions, you're checking the engagement and comments to see what's working, what's not. So it's a little bit of that every day as well. And besides that, I'm kind of known for like working on strategies, community strategies, which is more like long-term overarching communication strategies, either for the project in general, so for like Wild Song or Star Stable Horses, or just for specific campaigns. So for example, how you want to communicate about this big DLC that is coming and stuff like that. So it is a little bit of everything, I would say, but it's mostly external communication if I need to sum it up.
And Matilda?
Yeah.
My workday is kind of all over the place, to be honest. Since we are a small company, we are 6 employees at the moment. I have at least 3 titles on me. So I have the community manager, and then marketing, and a 3D artist. So it's kind of finding a balance. But usually I catch up on Discord. That's where we have most of our community. Answer some Q&A and try to chat with them and see how we can improve, because a lot of feedback we get is like things we can improve on is nice. I do have a list here in case I forget something. But I also do write announcements and blog posts and things that need to be put out on social media, like Kickstarter and Steam. Instagram, we have been playing around with TikTok, but it's I'm a bit scared to post things that aren't videos, more like pictures, because I want it to be like good quality. But yeah, just communicating and seeing how we can improve and change things, really.
Thank you. So I actually have a little follow-up question to this, because you both touched up on it a little bit, and that was marketing. So when we were deciding, are we going to do community management or marketing? We were like, oh, there's a lot of overlap between community management and marketing, and mm, how do you separate yourselves in those roles? Like, do you separate, or do you often do work closely with that kind of role?
I mean, they do intertwine a lot. It's hard
They
to
do.
like pinpoint what's marketing and what's community management, because you can do a lot of good community management that turns into good marketing.
Hmm.
So, like our community, we have a lot of people who are posting videos on YouTube and posting Instagram posts about our game. And that is like, I feel like it's kind of like secondhand marketing, where we are doing something with the community, which then makes them post something, and then more people come to the community. So it's a win-win, I think, for everyone.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, like the community for me is about the organic interactions, because I think marketing also, you can include like paid advertising, for example, in marketing, right? Or like paid campaigns, while community is all about building those organic relations with the players. So usually you work with a super limited, or if like not at all, budget, because again, creating a social media account doesn't really cost anything besides a lot of work. But yeah, I think that's marketing is like a step higher on community. Community is part of marketing, a big part, I would say. But yeah, like for me, doing community management, it's mostly caring about building the community and those organic interactions we can have with the players.
Oh, that's really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's it's kind of difficult to kind of fully separate those two, I think. And first of all, hearing that you're like a professional TikToker, it's kind of cool, to be honest. And so you're in a different size of kind of companies and studios, and it maybe with Patricia, like it would be interesting to hear if you have like a marketing. Do you have a separate marketing department?
We are part of the marketing department. Again, we're definitely a bigger studio, more than 6 people. So I think it's around 200 maybe, maybe a little bit more.
It's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, a little bit bigger. Yeah, just tiny bit. And of course, we're still working like on the structure, right? So, for example, I have the support of like product marketing manager who really takes care, like looks after marketing discipline in general. So I can rely on them to like ask about all the marketing stance that other departments might be doing, so I can like play into it with my community stuff, right? But yeah, it's I am part, like when it comes to structure of the company, I am part of the marketing department. And I think in my previous jobs as well, as I work at EA and Paradox, also community is most usually part of the marketing department. Yeah.
And how about like Matilda? Like, is how does the rest of your team like view community? Like, is it viewed as a piece of marketing, or is it like a separate thing? Or
I would say they see it as separate things. Because until now we've had our social medias open for more than a year, and we haven't paid for any marketing yet. It's only the work that I put into posting on Facebook and Instagram and making things go semi-viral, I guess. So it's hard to like pinpoint it, because all of the marketing that's done is kind of community management at this point.
Fair. Makes sense.
So I know personally because hey, Norway too, but you have a really interesting backstory on how the community and community feedback has affected the development of your game, and I was wondering if both of you might want to say a few words on how that has affected the game you're currently working on, or past games that have had a really big influence from the community. Matilda, would you
Yeah.
like to tell us about your game and how it was affected?
Yeah. So we have a channel on our Discord called Work in Progress, where we post at least 5 times a week, or at least we try to. So one post every day from Monday to Friday. And that's mostly just work in progress and things that are not even close to being finished, but they can see like what is happening. And usually we do get a lot of feedback from the work in progress, and then we can see, okay, so this is like this, and we should probably improve this and change the shape of this and think differently. And then kind of for the next week, we try to improve on what we got feedback on. So it's kind of we're making a game that we want, but as well as the community, they can word themselves and still be heard by us because we want to make a game for them, but also for us. So it's kind of a joint effort.
Oh, that's really nice to hear. I mean, we often hear so many complaints these days with community complaining about games and it being difficult for game companies to always implement a lot of these changes that communities complain about. So to me it's very heartwarming to hear that there is such a good collaboration in your game and your community.
Yeah, I think it's harder to change things once you're done with them. It's like, okay, here's a
Mhm.
published thing, but we can do it in the progress. So we say, okay, we worked on this for a couple hours. What do you think? And then we can take the feedback and change and make improvements for it.
That's a smart way to do it.
And I think there's a lot of stories about indie studios and indies having like a lot of success with doing, well, it could be an early access or just a beta or whatever, but with just going out there and throwing stuff in and like building the game with the community. Hades being one of the biggest examples of this, but it's like not the only one, like easily not the only one. There's been a lot of other ones, and I think it kind of makes sense. And in a way, I can understand why bigger studios don't do it, like like giant studios, because they are very sort of controlling. But at the same time, it's a real shame, at least in my mind. Like it would be interesting to. This is a completely like utopian idea, but for example, GTA 6. Like, what if that was built with the community instead of Rockstar being like, we're just doing our thing.
I
If
think
they're
one of
even
the
doing.
biggest issues with working with the community when you're AAA is the size of the feedback.
It's
Because there's
true.
a lot of different people with a lot of different opinions, and how are you going to choose like, okay, this one is the one we want to follow? Because
Yeah.
no one ever is going to be happy. Not everyone is going to be happy, and it happens like
Very
90%
true.
be happy, and then
Yep.
you have the 10% who scream and say, this is not what I wanted. And I mean, it still happens with us as well, but we just gotta manage, I guess. We try to
That's
make
act
most people happy, but we can't make everyone happy, and we have to,
very,
focus
very
on
true.
that. Yeah.
That actually raises a really quite question, because there is a lot of in communities you will get negative feedback, and sometimes it's like constructive criticism, which is good, but sometimes it's just criticism for the sake of criticism. So it'd be like actually kind of interesting to hear from your both of your point of views, especially like smaller and bigger. How do you deal with that? How do you deal when you get just negativity, like a bunch of it, or like how do you handle
When
Yeah.
that?
I try to do my best to just kill them with kindness. uh, I just I don't want to put more fuel to the fire and be angry. I just say, okay, thanks for the feedback. We'll look into it. And at least I can't keep arguing because I mean, it depends on the situation because a lot of feedback we get is very constructive, and it's very few times non-constructive feedback, which is just to be annoying or just to find something to complain about. But we
Yeah.
do try to see their point of view as well.
Yeah, I can
Uh,
definitely relate to that. Like, it's like sometimes they call in community managers the shield, right? Like we're in the front line, we're reading
Definitely.
all the nasty comments and the positive comments as well. But at least I try whenever I relay, because we're also, the connection between the developers and the player base, right? Like the main connection, I would say. So it is a little bit of shielding, the devs from all the unconstructive feedback. I actually work at EA when they released Star Wars Battlefront 2. So when it comes to
Ooh.
negative feedback, and yeah, I work on their forums when that happened. When pride and accomplishment comment happened. So
Okay.
I can tell you there was a lot of negative feedback. Well, feedback, negative reactions
Yeah.
to that. So that was quite heavy to compress everything in your brain, but like it's not really up to you. Like you never make those decisions. You're just there, like trying your best, doing your work every day. So also being a gamer myself, I can understand that some people are just so attached to the game or a brand that they have this perfect image of how it should be in their head. But as it was already mentioned, like you can never please everyone. There will always be people that will just complain for the sake of complaining. But with those comments, of course, I always acknowledge them. Like it depends of the volume of those comments, because if there are a lot of them, then definitely something is off, right? Like that many people just complain that something is wrong. They don't really say exactly what, but you see many of those comments. So okay, I will look into it. But yeah, like I think one of the best comments really that you can get is the feedback which is constructive. Like even if it criticizes some features in the game or something like that, but it gives you the base that you can like relate to the developers, they can work with that. So it's always a little bit also teaching your community how to communicate with you if they want to be heard. Like at least that's what I try to include in my like community strategies, right? So as was already mentioned, like you need to be like fight them with kindness, but also like let them know that they will be heard if they will also try to not just attack us or be super negative, and actually say what they want to be changed, because that's mostly what we're looking for. Like developers are super curious about those things, that they want to know those things, but again, like we need to filter those information out from all the other comments that might not be, they're just there to be like negative and basically just attack the devs and stuff. So there's a little bit of that, but I can tell the both games are working right now, not having many of those problems like compared to the past with EA. So it's definitely better at Star Stable. Yeah.
I have to say, like, I tip my hat to you for surviving Battlefront 2 launch. Like, I think that comment, the pride and accomplishment, is still the most like on
Downvoted.
Reddit.
Yep.
Yeah, most downvoted, like 620,000 or something
If
downvotes.
I'm not mistaken, made it to the Guinness record. It was like a Guinness record stuff or something like that. So yeah, it's
Jesus.
it has nothing to do, like I was not even like minorly responsible for that. It just happened. And then again, you're there, as I said, first line of defense, and you're just like having this wave of negative comments coming into you. But yeah, it fun times, but also a very good learning experience. Like I would not change that. Like I'm happy I survived that, because again, the experience I got for that, yeah, super valuable.
You learn a lot in the trenches, definitely. Like it
Yes.
can get hairy, but you learn a lot. Very much cool. Yeah. That's yeah. That's also like, having read the comment, I can see what the person was trying to say, but it was the wrong time and kind of the wrong tone. Like it really hit the nail, like in a bad way, like straight on. So, but yeah, okay. This is a really good
Can I make
answer. Yeah.
a comment about comments? Actually, we didn't mention this, but if you have questions in the stream, if you're watching and you have
Ooh.
questions and you'd like to ask us, please feel free to write to us, and we will bring it on to the speakers and ask those questions
Yeah,
if possible.
definitely.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay, so
That
we have
was a good shout out.
comments. So I have another question for you about working on a community for a game that hasn't been released yet. So both of you are currently working on games that haven't been released yet, and how is it to work how is it to work on that from starting from zero? Do you take things from past experiences, like community from past experiences or past games, or do you have to build everything from scratch? How do you work on building that community with a totally new game?
Who's first?
Yeah, who's first?
Matilda, please.
Okay. So I actually have no experience with community management. So I was kind of tossed into it, but I wanted to try. As I've had some Instagram accounts that had a good amount of followers. Um, so it's been a learning curve, to be fair. But it's very exciting. And starting off with the Astride social medias, I actually shouted out Astride from my private Instagram, which was about my horse, of course. Um, so we had I think we had around 1,000 followers the first week of posting on social media, and then we kind of started posting and people started reposting and oh my god, it's a new horse game, because new horse games are always exciting. So we did get a lot of traction when we started, and then we just kept posting because we've been very active. We post at least once a week on Instagram, which is our Friday weekly work in progress. Like we have a cluster of work in progress we post on Fridays. So it took off from Instagram, and then we opened our Discord as well, where we used Instagram to get people to get into Discord. So a lot of people actually made Discord to be on the Astride server, because that's where most of our updates and everything related to the game is posted. So Instagram is kind of a vessel for Discord, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I got it a bit easier because even if the 2 games I work with that were in early access was Surviving the Aftermath at Paradox, and now it's Wildsong for Star Stable. But of course, it's not the first project for the company, so there was always like an announcement that was company-wide that okay, they're working on a new game, or for example, for Surviving the Aftermath, there was already Surviving Mars, which was kind of under the same like brand umbrella. So that's basically why I have it a little bit easier to start off the community, because people already kind of know like that something is coming and they were looking for those social media channels. But I definitely can say it's different to work on early access games than post-launch already released games that have already established community, because as it was said, like you need to really focus on building and growing your community. I also think you have a little bit of a wiggle room to experiment a little bit, seeing like, for example, what kind of content sticks, like what people like, what they don't like. So you're basically more prepared for the launch period. Also, what kind of communication works the best? For example, is it posting twice a week? Is it posting once a week? Which platforms should you invest in? Because also, I like personally, I don't believe we should like try to hoard people to our Instagram account. If I see that, for example, there's a big community on Reddit that we really did not consider to be an official channel, but having official presence there, if there's already a community building there around your game, just stepping in and like make sure that they know like we're reading what they're saying. I think this is important to also recognize the best channels where your community actually already is, and then making sure you have an official presence there. But again, for the early access game, feedback is the biggest part. Like we were kind of talking about it constantly, right? Like how important it is to have that feedback from the players. But for early access games, it's even more important because the game does not have its final shape. So that's where players can actually influence and kind of make the game together with the developers to like a even bigger impact than it is post-launch. Because again, there are so many things still in development and they're easier to change. Like for example, for Surviving the Aftermath, we basically had the monthly releases, and we went through so many iterations based on like some features based on players' feedback. I worked on this game till the launch, and I can tell you like the changes that were made based on the feedback we got from the players. It will be definitely more difficult to achieve without having that external input from our community.
I see. That's really really interesting to hear that it does matter that much. That feedback really does. But we were talking about the platforms and communicating to create a community, and I have to ask, what are your favorite or the best platforms that you've been working with?
Yeah, this is really interesting because you talked about TikTok and then
Yeah.
Matilda mentioned like Instagram to be as a vessel for Discord, and
Right.
unfortunately Discord has become a thing. So yeah, Patrizia.
I would say one thing. I know that Discord is a very powerful social media platform right now, but I actually don't like using it, and I'm mostly focused on analytics.
Yes. Oh, finally, someone else who understands me. Yes, I do not like
I
Discord. I use it daily.
I use it. Yes, I'm addicted to TikTok. Unfortunately, hello millennials on TikTok. I'm in that group.
I'm one.
Yeah, but I actually don't like using TikTok myself. We have people in the team because again, I'm not actually the only community manager. And people doing content for social media. We have amazing girls doing TikToks on the official Star Sable account, and I cannot be more thankful that like I don't really need to get involved. I'm only looking at the analytics because that's my strong suit. So I'm checking how they're doing and providing feedback on that. But personally, I think Instagram, just because I like how aesthetically nice looking you can make it. Like I'm just biased. Like I like things to be looking nice. So like having a nice Instagram feed is great. But I think for providing feedback and for building community, Discord and Reddit would probably be my favorite ones. But Discord actually introduced the forum feature recently, so I'm actually super excited about it because I think it's going to be a huge help, at least in some of my future projects. But yeah, so I think like my personal favorite will actually be Discord, especially with the forum feature.
Yeah, I agree. I really do appreciate Discord because you can kind of directly speak to the community. So it feels kind of more like a social thing rather than a me selling something thing. And that's kind of what I like the most, that you can connect with people. I don't think Discord likes me though. I do constantly have issues with the not safe for works tags, because when we post in work in progress, sometimes Discord just thinks it's a not safe for work picture and we can't post it.
I'm really curious what
So
those pictures look like.
Why?
I mean,
Yeah.
horse bodies with muscles look like nude people, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
our
good to
muscles are
know.
Interesting.
too real. So I
Okay.
constantly, when I
Okay.
try to post pictures of like, oh yeah, here's a new fur textures, or here's like muscle definition, and Discord is like, nope, this is a nude body. You cannot post this. So I have those issues, but
Whoa.
other than that, it's fine. I do like Discord because that's where I hang out with people as well, like in private, social and stuff. And Instagram is just something that I grew up with. I've had Instagram since it came out. Was it 2011 or something? 2010?
While ago.
So it's kind of it's always been
A
there, so
while
I
ago.
kind of just use it. We do have Facebook, but Facebook is kind of dying out slowly, I think. I feel like at least
Yeah.
for games. Um, I mean, I've tried TikTok, but I need to be more confident in what I'm posting. We do have some content on there, but it's not to the standard that I would like to. So I'm struggling with finding things to post.
That's quite fair. Two questions arose kind of in my mind. My first one: so you have this nude body horse muscle problem. Do you have the same problem on Instagram if you post them, or is it just Discord that does this?
No, it's just Discord. I actually had
Okay.
to do a workaround where I posted a work in progress on Twitter to then hyperlink it to Discord work in progress. So you would get the same picture, it's just linked from Twitter.
Modern
Yeah.
problems require modern solutions. What can I
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, yeah. Sounds like
My second,
extra work.
exactly, yeah. My second question is like, so you mentioned Facebook as a dying kind of a platform for games, and it's a dying platform in many ways,
Yeah.
unless you're a boomer, I guess. But Instagram has also been, well, I think it's a too strong a word to say struggling, but it's also been kind of losing to TikTok very, very heavily, and more people. So like, do you actually get a lot of engagement and well, and not just people like liking or viewing your pictures or videos, but actually engaging with you? Is that like, is there a strong community there?
So when I post on Instagram, I try to ask questions. When it's not a work in progress, I do. Like for example, we've been posting or announcing new horse breeds that we're adding to the game, chosen by our Kickstarter supporters. And I try to ask, like when we posted like a big chunky Percheron horse. I asked like, okay, if you had a Percheron, what would you use it for? And I got so many answers like, oh yeah, I would use it for barrel racing or dressage, or oh, I would just pet it and have it in the stables. And it's nice to see all of the different people who are surrounding the game, and it's nice that there's so much diversity.
Do you think you'll be implementing any of this diversity in the game from the feedback?
We'll see. A lot of it is planned, a lot of it is not planned, but we'll see how far we get. We're still a small team, so we have to like kind of
Keep the scope.
yeah, we got to keep the scope as small as possible and just not overdo anything.
That's fair. And Patricia, did you have?
Yeah,
I
mean, again, like I've been like managing at least 6 spreadsheets when it comes to like engagement impressions on different platforms, like monthly. So I can definitely see the trend that Facebook is declining. I think it's still like one of the best platforms, especially for paid advertising, because I mean the amount of information they hold on their users is, especially for paid advertising, is like super useful. But it's not necessarily great for building a community. Like I said, I think that's the advantage of Reddit and Discord, because they go into a specific space that can just talk about your game, while on Instagram, on Facebook, they just scrolling their feeds and your post might pop out or not, right? So it really depends on the algorithm. Kind of the same with the mythical TikTok algorithm that tries to cater to your needs. But yeah, Facebook, I would say it is in decline, and I see like less and less comments really being there. For example, for Star Stable, I think Instagram is a really powerful social media platform right now, just because our players really like the visuals, right? So they really like taking nice screenshots and share them. Same for like Wild Song. Or horses, like taking screenshots of the horses and sharing them. So Instagram is to-go platform, I think, still. It's easier than making videos for TikTok, even if we can see that the younger demographic is on TikTok, and we're kind of targeting the younger demographic as well. But yeah, like I think like Instagram is still holding its place pretty strong, especially with I think the advantage over TikTok is stories, how customizable they are. For example, doing polls or anything like that, it's way more difficult on TikTok, even if you might have like way more followers there. Like, you have the reply with a video and stuff like that. While you can just post a poll in your story about like feature, like what people think about it. They just need to like, okay, this feature is on fire. I really like this. So it's super intuitive and easy, I guess. So yeah, I really, really appreciate some of the features that Instagram has over TikTok.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. That did raise, like when you mentioned the demographics though, because you're kind of aiming for a younger demographic, and TikTok is kind of the place to be, but Instagram has, I think, a larger variety, or the age range is probably bigger.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something more? No.
No. I was just saying that I think you need to be, but I think it's both on TikTok and Instagram. You need to be 13 years old to have an account. So same for Facebook, really. But from what I can see, at least on our channels, Instagram, TikTok, that's mostly where our players, and let's assume the younger players, are. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, because my question, or my comment / question, was going to be about, because you mentioned Facebook and that paid advertising is really good, and I think I've known people who've made like a board game and advertised there, and they had good engagement. But if your demographic is younger people, then it's not going to be the place to be, because they're not there, are they?
The engagement, there's still like decent organic engagement, but you can really see the numbers popping if you actually put some money behind it on Facebook. At least these days, and at least for the projects I'm working on.
Okay. I guess my next question would be, so you've mentioned, Patricia, the Reddit. I don't know if Mathilda, I don't think you mentioned it yet, and I don't know if you guys use it, but so for Reddit you have these subreddits, which is reddit.com/r/whatever your weird hobby is, and then people, and it can be just like I don't know, 10 to 100 people talking about your game or whatever hobby. And if it goes even further, and you have people who can like customize it, make it look like yours, and stuff like that, and it feels more. I mean, it is a forum essentially. It's just like more modern forum, although not so modern anymore. It's quite old. And whereas Discord is more like a hangout place where you talk with people. Like, what kind of differences do you see between Reddit and Discord? And how much do you support each? Patricia, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Reddit, the thing is that it's usually not, basically like community managers creating those subreddits. They're usually created by community, and then you try to make your way in sneakily, and oh hey, so I'm one of the developers, so you can talk to me. While on Discord usually it is, well, I also work with some fan-made Discord servers that we also had like official presence in the past. But usually it's something that you can create yourself and have more control of. So for example, you can decide on moderators and stuff like that. And it is more personal, I would say. Like Reddit is also more personal unless you're applying from official account. But as Matilda already mentioned, like I think Discord has that advantage that they see they talk to a person, or a bot, I guess, but they're pretty much aware of that, instead of like official Star Stable or Wild Song the Game account, right, which would be usually the case on like Facebook or on Instagram. And I think they really appreciate those more like personal interactions.
Okay, cool. Matilda?
We haven't had much traction on Reddit. I think there was a post posted in some game developer Reddit, which took off with like 1,000 upvotes or something. But that's about it. We do have a r/Stride or a Stride game, but it's not active yet. It has been made like a couple months ago, but I haven't seen anything on it. I do tend to go on Reddit and just search for a Stride horse game just to make sure there's nothing I missed, but there's not much on Reddit at the moment. But I think we're pretty small still to have more on Reddit yet.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. And it's that
We actually. Oh, sorry. We have a question from the chat.
Oh.
And so I thought I'd ask our guests. So if you had to pick just one social media only to work on building your community, which one would it be? So one social media platform. You can only choose one to build your community. Which one would you choose?
It's very hard because from Instagram we get the numbers, but from Discord we get like the closeness, if that makes sense. So I kind of like having both.
Yeah.
But definitely I would keep Discord, yeah.
Yeah, I think I would go for, especially with, again, what is the trending platform these days or where people usually are. I would say Discord. And again, it's all about, those organic and interactions and building the community. And I think Discord is better suited for that. So yeah, I think if I had to choose Discord, but I would fight for Instagram. I would also fight for Instagram.
I'll fight for both.
Okay,
for
so
Instagram.
the answer is 2. You can't choose just one. Instagram and Discord. Those are the 2 top ones.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know.
Well, yeah, that actually kind of paints an interesting picture about Discord because it's kind of like this house or a room where you hang out with your fans and players, but it's kind of difficult to find a Discord. Discord doesn't have a great search tool for like these communities, and you have to bring people some other way. So yeah, it doesn't it does not do well in a vacuum. It needs these other platforms to support it. I've never actually thought about it, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because the reason we have a lot of people on Discord is because we have a lot of people on Instagram who we told to get on Discord. Because the Discord discoverability is very, very bad.
Yeah, actually recently I discovered, like, I noticed an interesting thing because of course I started playing Dreamlight Valley as like a lot of people I know, and they actually, I think it's like one of the few games I saw that they mentioned the Discord in the game, and all of their official websites, like the main platform to go for them, at least, or that's my perception right now. I haven't talked with any of their social media people, but they really pushing the Discord, which I find really, really interesting.
This is that Disney game, right?
Yeah, that's a Disney game. Yeah,
that's really surprising. I've never seen like a real game having. I've seen like a lot of. I every now and then go through itch.io and like download some games there, and they sometimes do that, and it's like a 1-person, 5-person team or something. and it makes sense that they kind of try to build it like that's interesting. I don't think
Yeah,
I've ever seen a big game do that.
That's what got my attention as well. It's like, they actually linked the Discord in the game. I'm like,
Did
okay.
you check the Discord out?
Oh,
Was
of
it
course.
active?
Of course, I'm in the Discord. I'm providing
Okay.
feedback. I'm the player, so I can play the player role now.
Is this when I say that GTA 5 and Red Dead and all those bigger games also have Discord?
Yeah, I wonder, like, do they official ones, or are they just because there's
They have for
okay?
Valorant and League of
Oh.
Legends. I'm part of a lot of them actually. Dead by Daylight and Animal Crossing as well. But this one might be a not official one.
Okay, yeah. I wonder where you. I mean, if you Google for like GTA Online or GTA 5 Discord, you probably find it. But like, where do they have this info? I've never run into any of this, so yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I just searched it up actually. I was curious because I do play a lot of games, and I was curious to see if anyone had any issues. Like for Red Dead, I do a lot of collecting, and sometimes my collections wouldn't actually show up where they should have shown up. And I
Right,
would just ask in the community, hey, what's going on with my collections?
fair enough. And
Hmm.
it helped.
No,
Oh.
it was a bug.
Fair enough. But hey, now they know about the bug, so
Yeah.
maybe, hopefully. Fair enough. Okay, this was really interesting. Yeah, I never seen this part, like this AAA game Discord side. I've never even thought. Like the only game I've ever joined was Returnal, which I really liked. It was my game of the year last year. So that was the only sort of game Discord I've ever joined. But yeah, I think we'll keep on moving forward, and I think
We actually have one question.
Yeah, that's
We have
I was
another
going to go to the next question. But yeah,
sorry,
Sylvia,
no, we
please.
have a question from the audience. Another
Oh,
question.
audience. Okay.
Yeah. So, do you take into consideration the social media main user age? Is our next question. Matilda?
It depends because on Instagram it's a wide variety, and since we do our age group is kind of limited to, let's say, 13 to 25, at least that's our smaller scope. We do tend, or I'm a kind of a millennial or whatever is in the 96 26-year scope. I have no idea. I don't know what I am. But I have used a lot of Facebook and Instagram and Discord, and I'm all on those platforms, and we're making the games for kind of my age group. So I kind of just use the platforms that I'm used to using. And then when I started using TikTok, I was like, oh yeah, maybe we should just use TikTok as well.
Yeah, I think again, as a person that spends a lot of time like reading what kind of information we have available on, all the communities we have on Instagram and Facebook. So age is at the back of my hand, right? At the back of my head, especially that, especially if you work closely with marketing, they have those target audiences they want to reach, right? So this is like also like one of the reasons, like when you're thinking like which channels you should actually start with, like you usually know what your target audience is when it comes to age and like location. That there's a lot of different stuff you can like describe your target audience with, but age is like one of the main things. So it helps to know where like younger people are going and spending most of the time on social media.
Thank you.
That does make sense. That does make sense. Also, I peered into the bottomless pit that is the questions, and someone asked about the wine, so I'm just going to quickly say that it's an Australian 2020 Merlot. It's a Wakefield, quite lovely. I'm a sucker for Australian wines. I live there, and I went to quite a few vineyards, and yeah, that's the sponsor of this show, Australian vineyards. So yeah, let's go back into communities. So I guess this is a little more lighthearted question, I guess. But if you'd have to choose one of your most memorable or best or funniest or favorite kind of interaction with your community, or like some sort of event or a thing or something, what would that be? Matilda, do you have something? You were nodding. It feels like you have something in mind.
It was kind of hard to pinpoint something because there's a lot of things happening every day. But one thing that does kind of stand out to me is it's happened a couple of times actually. When one of the community members is not doing okay and they're saying like, "Hey, I'm having a bad day. This and this happened," and there's actually a lot of people who say, "Hey, just send me a message. We can talk about it," and it's so nice.
Mm.
It's very nice. That is very
Yeah.
wholesome. Nice.
So every time I see that happening, I'm like, oh, these guys
The
are
best
so nice,
community.
and it's
Yeah.
it's just so heartwarming to experience that people are actually caring about each other, even if they don't know each other.
Definitely. The internet can be a scary place, but like when you
Yeah,
find like these good spots, it's worth more than gold almost.
yeah, it's such a
Uh,
nice thing.
yeah. Patricia, did you have?
Yeah, I actually had a similar thing, and I remember it really well because it was quite relatable. It's when I was working on City Skylines at Paradox, and basically like 2 months into me starting the job, we had the pandemic starting like officially, and everyone was sent, working from home or going into lockdown. Well, thankfully not in Sweden, but still you wanted to, separate yourself from people. Um, but I had a message on, if I remember correctly, it was from on Instagram, like just a private message, DM, from a player just thanking us for making City Skylines because it really helps him or her in the lockdown. Like just playing the game, like apparently they were like separated from family. And they haven't seen like relatives for quite a while, and of course pandemic quite a scary thing. So just knowing that the game kind of brought a little bit of cheer was like super heartwarming, and again something I could relate to as well, because again I just moved to another country, started a new job, was sent home to work from home, and also as a gamer I could relate to that so much as well. But it was like super heartwarming to get a message like that, the project you're working on, the game you're working on actually makes difference in people's life, and they want to share that experience, even if it was a DM. But there was like a super nice and relatable thing to like open your social media account in the morning with coffee, half asleep, and you see a message like that and just instantly go like,
Oh.
yeah, I really like my job. I really like my job.
Oh yeah, that sounds really lovely. Yeah, those are really cool. I heard like during the pandemic there was a bunch of these stories. The one that stuck with me is the Microsoft Flight Simulator, because it used like real world map data. So a person who moved from Germany to the US would fly around their hometown because their parents were there and they weren't able to see them for a couple of years. So they would just go there, and then they would call their dad and talk with his dad and like, oh, I'm just flying over your house, and the dad was very confused, obviously, but like. But yeah. Also, I really like the shout out City Skylines. Wonderful game. Also Finnish. Just putting it out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was the first like proper community management gig for me, that I had to like not only forums but also all the social media, all the community building, and yeah, that game will always have a special place in my heart. And amazing community, super creative.
I will be meeting some of the devs next week, so I will tell them this. So nice to hear. Really good answers. Not what I was expecting. I was expecting kind of like some funny things, someone funny meme of our horse walking in a funny way or whatever, something. But this is actually a lot nicer, much more
A lot more
heartwarming.
heartwarming. Yeah.
Yeah, I like
So,
it.
so Icebreakers, our channel, is a collaboration between the Nordics. We have Finland, Sweden, and Norway, and so I'd like to ask a question for you that's a little bit related to that, and that is, have you noticed a difference in communications within the Nordics versus communicating with international audiences, Matilda?
I think for our game, since it's based on the Nordics, there's a lot of we have a lot of people from like the West and or outside of Europe, I would say, um, who suggest a lot of things that are kind of not Scandinavian things, like, oh, I want to see wild horses in a stride because we have that in America, and we see a lot of the Nordic members like, but there's not wild horses in Scandinavia.
Mm.
And they kind of explain like, yeah, it wouldn't make sense to put it in the game because we do have we don't have any wild horses here, so it would kind of be weird to have wild horses roaming around suddenly. Um, So it's fun, and it's fun to see the Norwegians kind of communicate with each other with things that I can relate to because I'm also like Norwegian, Scandinavian, and it's fun to like have it's a close community, but it's kind of even closer when it's like your neighbor.
Do you notice that your community consists mainly of Norwegians or Nordic players,
Uh,
or?
it's very like it's very spread out, I would say. There's a lot of Europeans in general.
Okay.
There are some Norwegians, I would say. I can't give you a number,
Mm-mm.
but like
Yeah.
roughly maybe 10% Norwegian or Swedish-ish. I am not sure, but it feels like there's a lot of them.
Huh. That's really interesting.
Is
And
it?
Patricia, oh,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. Before, just a quick question. Like, so is it when you mentioned like you have all around of Europe, you mentioned America. Is it mostly European, or is it like evenly divided around the globe, or?
Uh, I mean, I could just check on our Discord because we have region roles.
Hey. So maybe while you're checking that, we can ask Patricia
Yeah.
if you've noticed a difference in communications between the Nordics and international audiences.
Yeah, that's the funny thing because again, I've been working on like two different companies located in Sweden, well, both Swedish, Paradox and Star Stable. But I'm mostly working with global communities, and I must say that like all the Scandinavian players are kind of, especially with their English skills, they're really hard to find. Like on a personal note, like I met a few like I think there were Swedish players like playing WoW, for example, doing dungeons together, but they always have like perfect English. So I actually don't have like a lot to add to that because even for what's even making more difficult for Wild Song being in early access, we're only out in 5 countries right now, and Sweden is not one of them. So that might be just difficult to, for Swedish players, right, or like other Nordic countries players. But I would say it's again, like, you can always play into like the stereotypes a little bit, but I did not notice anything. It's always like a global community, and I would not say that Nordic players are really standing out from the rest of the world.
That's actually really interesting to hear, and in a way, kind of good because I mean, there's good sides and bad sides to standing out, and yeah. Sorry,
Very,
Matilda,
very true.
did you have a
Yeah,
chance?
we actually most of our community is European with 1,500 who picked the roles though. North America, so generally on the west side of the globe, is almost 1,000, and then we have South America, which is 36, Africa 27, Asia is actually just 18, and
Oh,
then Australia and Oceania is 160.
interesting.
Australia.
Hey,
So
you're supposed to be representing Finland.
mostly Europeans and North Americans.
Hmm.
Okay.
Mm.
I guess it kind of makes sense, the common language and culture. That was those were like really. I was expecting maybe more because at least in Finland, compared to, for example, Sweden is twice the size of Finland, and population-wise, and Sweden is a well-known entity around the world. Oh, Sweden! Oh, meatballs! Oh, IKEA! No, and all that. Not to go just for
Are we doing
stereotypes.
bashing tonight? Are we
No,
bashing?
this isn't. This is
tonight?
no, this isn't bashing. This is bashing. This is if it's
Okay.
bashing, it's bashing about Finland because Finland is not that well known. So at least in Finland, often if a Finnish company or a Finnish game or if something goes out, like Finnish people are like, oh, Finland, and there's like these Finnish memes about it. So I'm actually surprised that like Sweden and Norway, like they're not as ridiculous as we are, I guess. Because I was expecting them to say like, oh yeah, Norwegian people are like always going gung ho about oh, it's our game because it's Norwegian, or with the Swedish people like, oh, it's our game. But yeah.
No, I think like actually being Polish myself, I think Polish people do that a lot, like Polish communities. But no, I haven't really noticed anything like Swedish, Finnish, Norwegian. No, they don't really show up that much, I would say, or like being so obnoxious about that.
I like the honesty. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
us. We are obnoxious about it. We are a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. So we have a couple of questions, and this is one of these questions is a little bit different because it's for okay. So Matilda, like from what I'm going to see, you're not going to be you're going to have a harder time maybe answering this, but because the question is about PC versus mobile games, and Patricia, you've had more experience with this. So, but it would be interesting to hear. Do you notice like a big difference between these communities, like as they are, or in building them, or communicating, interacting with them?
That's actually an interesting question because I think a few years ago I would have a completely different answer to that than I have now. I think like with just the sheer variety of games and apps you have on Android and iOS right now, like all kinds of genres. I'm saying like you have open world games that you can play on your phone. You have like all those like match-free games which are more casual and stuff like that. But I think what matters more now is actually, what kind of game the community play. It does not really matter that much on which device, especially that we have cross-platform, which is like super getting more and more popular, I would say. It's already pretty popular, but you can see like brands like, for example, I know Call of Duty, right? They have main game on PC, but they also have Warzone, they also have Call of Duty Mobile. So you can see more and more like developers, AAA developers, like trying to penetrate the mobile market. And I don't think like trying to treat mobile players somehow differently in your communication or like building the community would actually work, because they still they have all the social media apps on their phone. They don't really need to switch the device. So they can access Discord as easily on their phone as they can on desktop. So if they're just playing a game and they can switch to Discord to like, I don't know, report the bug or something, like why not, right? Like it's possible. So I think the thing is that it's not really about which platform they're playing on. It's more about like what kind of game, and that's where you adjust your strategy. Like are you having a shooter game? Because you have all kinds of those on mobile as well. Or you have an adventure game, you have all kinds of those. Or more casual like farming simulators, you also have those. So that's what is more important right now, not really the fact that you're playing this on mobile. Like that, it doesn't matter that much anymore, at least from my perspective.
Okay, yeah, that's a very insightful answer. Thank you. Matilda, did you have any thoughts on this?
I mean, we're not planning on releasing on phone, but we do get a lot of people who want us to release on phone. I actually,
Oh,
that was a funny experience because I had a message on Instagram, direct message, of someone saying they will sue us if we don't put it on phone.
Oh, there you
And
go.
I was like, okay,
Okay.
good luck.
I know it's a stereotype, but they have to have been American.
Hey, hey.
I was like, whoa there.
Yeah, literally. Whoa.
Yeah.
Sorry. I couldn't help myself. There
Fair
is
enough.
pun
Fair
number
enough.
2 for the
Yeah.
day.
Ooh. But yeah, I
All right.
think yeah, we're running well, not out of time, but like we're hitting the 1 hour mark pretty quickly, and we don't want to keep you the whole night because this is community stuff and it's your area of work, so you don't have to work the whole evening. But it's been absolutely lovely having you here. This is really interesting to hear because I feel like community. This is the reason why we chose this topic when we we're talking about like what topic to take, is because community management and community like as a whole, which is a really important part because that's your players, is often overlooked.
Yeah.
It's our community is the reason we're actually here, because I don't think we would have ever gotten as much support as we did without the community. So we are very grateful, and we keep telling them, and I keep repeating myself every time I write something, but it's we wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for them.
It's very true. When you're on that side, you understand when people they have like this award speeches and they're like thank you to all the fans, and like it's honestly it's true because they wouldn't be there without them. So yeah, for sure. Okay, I'd like to towards the end we're just well, first of all, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, Lydia and Matilda, and a shout out to Vivian, who's been our producer, making things run smoothly. Really cool. And also Kim, hopefully you get well soon. And Sylvia, thanks for always being a
Thanks, of course. My
Bombas co-host. And in the end, it would be if you wanna throw any, like, I don't know, your Discord channel or your Twitter or your Instagram, like, please do, like, and even your subreddit, if it hasn't big enough, like, let's say it, and everyone can go galloping straight to their to your subreddit. I had to go there. I had to go there. Hey, you did one, I get one, okay?
But yeah, thank you so much for the invite. It's been real fun talking to you about, day-to-day stuff we're doing and, making people learn about what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve with, all those our external communication the players sometimes are not happy with. But yeah, it's like, again, as was already said, like, we couldn't do it without players, especially for like early access games or even like post-launch, like all the live service stuff. Players' feedback is essential, and social media, it's the way to go. Like that's the nowadays that's where you get this feedback and you interact with players. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for the invitation. It's been super fun. And yeah, if you wanna check out Wildsong, again, only out in 5 countries, but we have our social media channels. So just search for Wildsong the game. Also Star Stable Horses and Star Stable Online. So those are a little bit more popular. You can try them out also on mobile. Star Stable Horses is a mobile app, but Star Stable Online is also available on iOS. Right now, coming to Android soonish. But yeah, it will be really, really fun to see you there as well.
Just in case, can you mention the countries if someone listening is from one of those countries?
Yeah, okay. It's actually Australia, New Zealand, UK. I'm gonna be in trouble because I don't remember.
So let's.
Canada?
How about another horse pun there, Hal? While we, Matilda.
Nay. But yeah, Matilda, please. You literally asked for it, okay?
This is true. This
But
is
yeah.
true.
Yes, Matilda, please.
I mean, you can find us practically everywhere. Just Google a Stride horse game and you'll eventually find us. We have Patreon, which really helps us keep our company moving and keeping our employees paid. But yeah, join our Discord community. We post every single Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Wednesday, Thursday. I said that in the wrong.
But we
Whatever.
still like it.
Booga.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Bunch.
All the days of the week.
Yeah.
And sometimes on the weekend too. But we try to post everything game development on the Discord and weekly on Steam and Instagram. And we do post sometimes on Facebook, but mostly on Instagram and Steam and Kickstarter. Yeah, we did have a Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to plug in the quick Kickstarter quickly?
Yeah, we actually did hold a Kickstarter in April, which actually has ended, but it did end in we asked for 300,000 Norwegian krones, and we actually had more than 400,000 krones at the end. So
congratulations!
Nice.
thank you.
Yeah.
It was
Good
an
work. Yeah.
amazing Kickstarter. It was so fun to watch, and it was a crazy hyped in the office. Everyone was so excited. Wood was screaming when the people were donating, so it was definitely an experience.
I don't doubt it. Yeah, I can imagine. Must have been a stressful but like rewarding month.
Very.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in that case, yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining us again, both on those of you who are watching and those of you and our guests. Yeah. Shall we say that that's it for today?
Thanks
that's it. Thank you so much. Your guests. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Viv. Thank you, Kim, for maybe watching if you're still like conscious. And thank you for our viewers. All the best. Take care. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is always the awkward part. We don't know.